And hello everyone, and welcome to Author Times, Trackmania mapping podcast hosted by TMA for you. For the first episode we have as a host is also Guinea Pig, and for co-host me, Juice, Ealipse, and Deadfish. And for the special guest today we have Vixxa. So also, it's your time.
Yeah, thanks, Juice. Thanks for giving us the intro. Yeah, so we're going to be doing this, trying to do this every 2 weeks and just talking about anything and everything related to mapping. We're going to have a special guest every single week, and we're going to be talking with them about a lot of stuff, whatever they want to talk about, whatever we want to talk about. And then we're going to get into stuff like mapping news, different items that are coming out, different maps that are coming out, competitions, and then just having some discussions about any relevant meta conversations about the mapping meta, how things are changing, where things are going. And then we're also, like just mentioned, having a live Q&A. So if you are thinking of questions that you want to ask for the Q&A, you can type them now. We might see them, might be able to write them down in time, but if not, have them ready for the end, and we're going to have a Q&A. So I'm obviously joined by my fellow teammate compadres, Ealipse, Deadfish, and Juice here. And our special guest this week is Vixxa. I think for a lot of people, he doesn't really need an introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway because he deserves it. He's been in this community for over 10 years, 18-time Track of the Day mapper, now 2-time Trackmania World Tour mapper. He's been over time, past and present, part of multiple notable groups such as Against Physics, Shift, Waypoint, and now as part of the official TMGL mapping crew. Mastermind and creator of the Advanced campaign. Your 2022 Mapper of the Year, Vixxa. Welcome, Vixxa. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. I think it's fair to say that you've had a hell of a year, hell of a 2022. I think we just wanted to start off looking kind of back at the last couple of years of your mapping, looking at a couple videos, a couple of your maps, and just kind of showing what you've been up to in a very bite-sized piece for anybody here who might not be as familiar with Vixxa's maps. So just figured we'd pop a couple on screen. So this was your very first map in 2020. Is there anything you want to tell us a little bit about this map?
The thing was, I was a full-speed builder mainly in the previous Trackmanias, and this is kind of where I left off and made a little bit too difficult, too dank, slightly miscalculated tracks that were really my kind of thing. Very much Simo related. I was always looking up to Simo 900 and pretty much being I wouldn't say a copy, but definitely for having some sort of connections to his style that I try to also bring into this game.
Was it even built before we had custom items, or we already had them back then?
I've been building for such a long time. The custom lightings were the first time in this track that I ever used them. And I kind of went overboard with it maybe a little bit, but yeah, it was really cool to finally have something to experiment with lighting in general. Because I skipped Trackmania 2, and I always played Nations Forever until this game came. So yeah, this was all very new to me and a totally different kind of experience.
That's awesome to hear. I think this map. Gilneas, you posted this video. I definitely recommend anybody who hasn't watched the full video, watch this video detailing the creation of the map from start to finish. So this is from a little less than a year ago, but we'll take a look at the final product. So Ealipse also worked on this map. Either of you guys have anything you want to say about this in particular?
Well, I guess I can start out by saying when I started playing this game, I was always in map review, and of course the first guy I met was Vixxa. Always like helping me, like trying to map better, making better routes and such. And I mean, after like a year or something about of knowing him, I was like, yo, we really need to do a collab. I have a scenery in mind, and he basically sent me a track like the same day. But we did some more work on it. I mean, you can probably tell more about that.
This item set was really popular, right? I like became very popular when you released it.
Oh yeah.
We saw quite some stuff, quite some tracks that were based on these blocks. I do remember that Ealipse told me I want the track layout to be like this, and this corner of the map needs to be empty, so I can build this there. And then surprisingly, I was able to actually also do that, which was also a relief for me, because that was also quite new for me to actually have specific requirements. Actually, by the one mapper that I teach everything about. But yeah, it was a really fun. It took quite some time for this track, and it was really fun to work together. This was I think one of my favorite projects. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely the same. I mean, I think we used like about a month of like the route and scenery about this one.
I think we had a lot of thoughts and brainstorming before we actually started, but yeah, when from the first block to the validated track was pretty much a month. Yeah.
True.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that you touch on how different it is to build with certain scenery ideas in mind. You know, it's a common mistake that, you know, people talk about, is building any scenery before you build the route, or building route around a scenery. But sometimes when you're really trying to execute an idea, those are things you have to think about. And you know, having that is definitely a challenge, but I think it's safe to say that you guys pulled it off absolutely beautifully. The work definitely shows, and yeah, congrats for this one. This is a great project, and like Juice mentioned before, this set that was born out of this track, and the couple tracks around this time, has been used quite a bit. So a lot of people drawing inspiration from that. And then we just thought we'd throw this one in here as well. This is your most recent track. It's kind of the culmination of everything that you've kind of pulled together in both your experience and just your style and how it's progressed. So let's take a look at this one. Dreamscapes. Anything you want to tell us about this track, Vixxa?
The interesting thing about this track, and it's kind of a continuation of previous tracks, I like to see the border of what is still okay for track of the day, and this was another attempt at that. Of like, how many transitions can I pull in before it becomes too difficult? That's also what Sombrero Escalero was also such kind of track, and this was the dirt kind of track that I want, or I had in mind for. This is approximately about how far I can go without people losing their minds, and the scenery was completely new with the help of aZixTM. I'm still very happy that I could use that some help from him, because I think the scenery in this one is way more detailed than all my previous tracks. So I will definitely experiment more with that also in the future. But overall, it was a really fun track. It was. I think this was also one of the most fun to build, even though it was a solo project. I couldn't stop building. When the scenery started, I think I did this in 1.5 days.
Wow.
Which, yeah, is pretty fast, I would say.
So how did you go about using the macro blocks from ASCII? That's what you're talking about, right? You used the macro scenery blocks from ASCII for this. So how did you go about that? Like, did you place the macro blocks first and try to place cool stuff around them, or did you just what was the process with that like?
It took so long to find an actual way to implement both my original style that I have myself while using these great macro blocks. And indeed, it started first with just the macro blocks and making them connected and not too much copy-pasty. But already I somehow kind of found some blending way of doing both. And basically it's a layer of macro blocks, then a little bit of mine, then some macro blocks. That's basically the whole scenery. But I try to integrate it in such a way that it doesn't really seem like pasting a certain macro block and then some blocks by me and then again a macro. Really try to make it one incoherent, coherent thing.
That's really cool. That's really cool to just see how you describe that, because I think that's exactly the case where when you're using these types of tools, making it look individual, making it look still like its own thing. And yeah, so finding that balance is always difficult, and I think you definitely did a great job here. A couple people in chat were asking, because we're talking about the ASCII macro block set. So for anybody who isn't aware, the ASCII macro block set is a set that is still currently in development. I don't think it's everything is released yet. Made by the mapper ASCII, who recently had a track of the day. I don't think that.
Yeah, I think the one thing which is stopping him to release is that basically icon generation that for macro block doesn't work at the moment. So he's basically waiting for Nadeo to fix it.
Okay. But yeah, and I think in the meantime he's still working on some aspects of it, but it is essentially a set of a lot of vanilla plus style macro blocks that can be integrated into scenery. So that is has a lot of cool use cases. So everybody keep your eyes out for that, and that's definitely something we'll be talking about on this podcast if it ever does get fully released. Something I guess I wanted to ask you, Vixxa, because you talked about scenery for this map and like your approach to that and how you've kind of progressed in that. I think it's fair to say you've progressed a lot in your scenery style. You mentioned back in 2020 that you were quoted as saying you weren't the best scenery builder, and I think Iridescent, you also said it took you, your first map, it took you months to put together all the scenery for it, and then flash forward maybe only a year later, you mentioned maps like Grazzle Dazzle and Plastlayer you did in a couple hours. So can you tell us a little bit about how your scenery journey has progressed and how you've adjusted or developed your approach to mapping scenery?
I think what definitely helped, and I already had that before a bit, but when I when I wanted to make the advanced campaign, that's 25 tracks to make scenery for, that it then really pulled, I found my way to actually build something that looks okay really fast. Not necessarily outstanding, but it does the job. And I before that also already had that mindset, not necessarily go for the most outrageous scenery or most extreme scenery, or that you think the wow factor is really high, but I more had the mindset the route needs to be really good, the scenery needs to complement it well. And I think because of it I became a little bit less perfectionistic in the scenery, and maybe therefore I could place some stuff and I thought, it looks great, instead of I've placed it, I worked on it 20 minutes, I don't like it, I'm gonna remove the 20 minutes work again. And I think that's the main difference, that it was all right, I feel comfortable with how this looks and we move on. I think I have a better understanding of if people will like it or not now. I think that's the biggest one.
Do you think in doing so, in kind of putting that non-perfectionistic, I'm going to play stuff and just kind of go with it and go with the flow, do you think that has made you progress faster than if you had been more perfectionistic?
I think you can go two ways with it. On the one hand, I think you can definitely learn a lot quicker, but maybe not really develop your own kind of style. I think I now finally have a little bit of an own style. But before that, Sombrero Escalero is quite a drastic change to my moving block tracks of back in the day, and then the other tracks that have been there in between, like Prestail that you were talking about. I never really had a specific... You could recognize my style, but I definitely did not have a specific style that immediately said that's Vixxa, and now I finally feel like I finally have that. And if you have that from the start, and you can really focus on your own thing, I think it maybe does not make you learn quicker, but you can make something so unique and special. There are specific mappers, Prof 10 being a great example, that for quite a while only stuck to a certain niche, but did it so well that and made his own style with it, that can also be a good thing. So I think it you learn quicker if you are not developing yourself in a specific mindset, but just go with the flow. But it's definitely a double-edged sword, I think. It can
You
go
definitely
really well.
definitely started switching to transitional maps with your moving blocks maps, right? It was like the first attempts to basically build something like super transitional.
Yeah, the thing is, I was a full speed builder mainly before, and that's not as much about transitions. And in this game, I really became pretty much any style. And slowly, I always enjoyed transitions, but here, when the movie blocks came out and when more possibilities were there, I think it slowly developed into getting more and more transitional. Yeah.
What would you say? Because you mentioned, like you said, you were mostly doing full speed before. I think out of the last 40 maps you made in TMNF, I think like 90 something % of them were full speed, and then same stat in this game. I think 2 or 3 are full speed. You definitely made that leap. What would you say? You mentioned different block availability and stuff, but I guess what other things would pulled you further away from full speed and more into other styles?
It's two things. It's both indeed the possibilities of the new blocks and the new styles even that came with Trackmania 2020. So such as plastic, ice. I'm not a huge ice fan, but you can make such amazing shit with that. So the possibilities were there from the beginning, even from the very first release of the game. You already had so much more. Sausage was, I think, even there already. That blew my mind. Transitions everywhere. You can make anything, right? And at the same time, the full speed genre here in this game is much more focused, I think, on speed sliding, while I also really enjoyed the different tricks that you had way more in the previous Trackmanias. With the Ramstein bug happening isn't always a good thing, but for full speed you could do awesome tricks with it to lower airtime, and those things were the reason why I enjoyed full speed. And now it's a little bit more into do a perfect speed slide, keep the great lines, and that was, I think, for some people it's great, but it's not really my thing. And it is a combination. Both full speed wasn't that attractive to me anymore to build, and the other styles were just really fun to play with. So I think it's both.
Just a little question about the full speed in general. How do you feel about, like, did full speed in general changed in 2020 a lot compared to TMNF?
Definitely. And also because the physics of the car are a little bit different. Just a tiny bit, and you notice that if you have played a lot of full speed in previous Trackmanias, especially if you go from Nations Forever to this one we're now playing. It's quite a huge difference, and it wasn't that attractive to me, and it's a little bit unfortunate, but I think some people really enjoy it this way. It still has a huge fan base, and there are still awesome maps being published. So that's definitely there. But I would love to see those old Trackmania tracks, full speed tracks that have these transitions where you, not extreme transitions, but where you could just shave off a few hundreds, and that was really fun back in the day to hunt those. And you don't see them that often anymore. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's a really interesting insight into that. And I definitely think that makes a lot of sense with how you've carried over into the new game. And I mean, you mentioned, like you said, I totally agree. All the new blocks, creating so many new opportunities, so many new different styles, and like you said, fun to play with. I think it's very safe to say that you did a lot of playing with those blocks in the advanced campaign. You experiment with a lot of different things, a lot of different scenery styles. You said that took over 850 hours of work.
Yeah.
So with 25 maps, that's an average of around 35 hours per map. I think it was clearly not just something you threw together and were like, I'm going to make 25 little maps to have fun. You put the time
That's exactly
and effort.
how it started.
So yeah,
That's how it
tell
started.
us about how did it start? How did that come to be?
I don't know if you know the streamer Struikrover. It's a Dutch streamer he's fairly small, and he said like, I'm bored, I need some little campaigns. Can you make just to his viewers, make some campaigns for me? It's fun. And I thought like, sure, I'm gonna make 10 small maps, 18 to 20 seconds or so. And then it slowly became bigger of, oh, this could also be a way to experiment with different ideas. And then the tracks, my perfectionistic part kicked in, and I wanted to make it better. And eventually it came to Vanity, who asked, can I be a beta tester, a map tester for your tracks? Yeah, sure. And then the whole Offer Hunters team came, and the 800 or so hours were not only the mapping, it's also the whole organization of asking people and their hunting time as well. We had whole discussions about how could who wants to hunt what. So it was a lot more than just the mapping. And also Whiskey helped me a lot with the banners and stuff. And Manglife provided 8 skins, which is ridiculous. So it started with, just make some tracks for me, please. I'm bored, by one streamer, which is quite small, and it came to one of the biggest campaigns of the year, and it was I love that story as well, and I still thank Struikrover every now and then for that.
That's a really awesome story. I think it's really interesting where those bits of insight and or inspiration come from for these types of things, and just something wonderful about this game and this community in general, where it's just so freeform and these things can manifest. But I think it's definitely clear that the advanced campaign has had a huge impact on the mapping scene and in terms of how people have approached what the quality bar is. Because I think, like you said, maybe that came from your bit of perfectionist bug kicking in, but it demonstrates a really high level of quality for those types of maps and those types of styles. You said you also changed your scenery approach for each map. You were kind of approaching it differently with scenery. Was that something you did from the beginning or kind of came back to it? Because you mentioned it wasn't originally started that way.
I think it just happened naturally, that I never was fully satisfied with the track that I made scenery-wise, and every time experimented with something new. I'm still not 100% there, that I think this is how my scenery should be. And I also like to experiment with new things. When the new blocks, the moving blocks came out, those were great to experiment with. So it is also what happens in the moment. Like, we have had new releases with really cool blocks and lightings around the winter season, and those also were provided new ideas. So it just happened naturally, I think.
That's really cool. That's I think that's really awesome. The moving blocks are definitely offered a lot of interesting visual opportunities, even if they've had their issues with lag and stuff in the past. But that's, constant battle, right? The scenery, we're the scenery makers against the Trackmania engine and what can be done, whether it's custom items or how dense our own vanilla items are that you gave us to use. So that's always going to be a struggle, but I think it's something that you've always done a pretty good job of handling, and it is kind of on the mappers. It's on us to be aware of what is lagging and try to accommodate that. But yeah, huge hats off to the advanced campaign.
One question I actually have about advanced campaign. Rolling back, you said there's 7, 8 skins, right? So you had an Easter eggs, bunch of Easter eggs as far as I remember, and you have to collect them all to basically get the skin. I have a question: how many people actually got the special skins? Maybe you don't know the exact number, but in general.
I've asked a few times, and it is a few hundred. I don't know the exact moment now. The fun thing is, these skins are available for €5 if you don't want to do the whole hunt. And most people did the hunt and then still paid €5 just for Manglife, I believe. So that's great to hear as well. But we just wanted to have this kind of Easter egg thing, and then Meng approached me like this could be a cool collaboration that we could do, and it also naturally came to life, which was great. And first he only wanted to build one skin, of course. Why would you make some money? And then he said, "Oh, this color also works." And then I was gone for like 20 minutes, and he had 6 other color options, and that was awesome. So that was great, and also seeing so many people actually either buying or unlocking the skins also meant that they really appreciated his work as well, and that was great to see.
Yeah, skins in general, and Easter eggs and Easter eggs for skins and skins in general is really nice addition to campaigns. We always do it the same in TMA, but it's not 7 skins. It's like usually 1 for all gold or 18 medals. But we really like doing it because a lot of people can't beat Ulster times, but it's nice to give them something to basically look on map to like basically hunt for something that they can achieve and then get some reward. Maybe not money, but skin. Skin is already good reward, especially if it's a good skin. If it's like the skin which took some time to make, then I think it's really good stuff to add to such campaigns, or like in general for campaign releases.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the skins turned out absolutely amazing. I think as a whole, the advanced campaign just was such an incredible project, and I really hope you feel as good about it as a lot of us do. I think it's safe to say that pretty much everybody loved it. I think it played a big part in what culminated in you winning the 2022 Mapper of the Year. So tell us about that. How did you feel when you found out that you won?
I remember the moment because my parents are quite into they're not playing the game, but they keep up with everything I make, and they were watching that stream, and they were more nervous than I was because I thought these are 6 amazing mappers, right? All 6 definitely deserve their spot. Maybe even more people definitely deserve the nomination spot. And then you heard that you won. That was amazing. That was I remember I had such a smile on my face when I went to the bathroom to brush my teeth and go to bed. It was and I saw in the mirror like yes. So that was a great moment. And the thing I found the most funny was that sometimes I was also opening the stream or in the chat, and I remember Ealipse with capitals everywhere. Vote for Vixxa, and I thought like, dude, you're such an amazing mapper as well. You're so nice,
We do some little rigging.
We do a little rigging.
That was awesome. That was a great moment.
It's so great to hear that. I think it's incredibly difficult to argue that you don't deserve it. I think you had such an incredible year. You also, I think, most of the results of this we're seeing in 2023 most recently, but you also got on board with the Trackmania World Tour mapping. Can you tell us a little bit about how? You don't have to tell us everything about how you got involved in it, but in terms of how that process started and how that started changing your approach to how you were creating those maps for professional players.
That it was kind of one of the very first times that I actually made anything competitive related and it's quite a step going from just casual track of the day tracks to mapping for the World Cup or the World Tour, which is kind of a huge difference. And first you kind of look at people that are already longer in that corner, because you ask people like, what should I do? I have no clue. That really helped. I believe I asked Ealipse quite a couple of times, but also very many other players, Keissla a lot. Just in general, look a little bit about what others do, especially those that were mapping them for quite a long time. And slowly, now I'm getting to the point that I'm quite certain that I can do things on my own, find my own style, while still providing the kind of thing that these maps always have, the little bit of quirkiness that's usually involved. But still, for example, with the latest maps, I definitely wanted to add the same kind of transitions, or a lot of transitions still into it. And I think I found my way slowly, first by looking a lot at the other people, but now finally finding my own kind of style and being comfortable in my own skin for mapping for such a big event.
That's really great to hear that you're finding that confidence. I totally understand, like, kind of coming into the scene, especially like you mentioned, you hadn't mapped competitive before, so finding your footing there. But I think you've definitely found it quickly from what we can tell. Your most recent map has been incredibly popular, has been on a lot of people's top favorite map of the new map pack release for Stage 2. Is there anything coming up in terms of your future mapping endeavors with professional or competitive in general or otherwise, that ideas you want to throw into the mix? Are there things that you're thinking about?
I have quite some collabs going on right now. Some had to wait quite a long time as well because of all these other projects. Sorry, King Tom, very sorry. But we'll get there. But overall, I'm actually taking it a little bit slow now. I do have a few very special projects I don't want to tell that much about yet. But overall, I try to also keep mapping fun. I think quite of us have heard of people or have had the experience that if you map too much projects at the same time, it can more become of a thing that you have to do than actually enjoying it. So I kind of want to keep that flow of that every time I open the editor, I think, yeah, nice, okay, what are we gonna be today, or something, a positive mindset. As long as that is keeping if that's the main thing, that's a good thing to keep and not rush into more and more and more projects.
I definitely agree. I think mapping burnout is very real, especially. Yeah, I think all of us here can attest to that in some regard. And yeah, go ahead, Jason.
I'd like to roll back a little bit to TMGL and maybe like ask not only Vixxa but Ealipse as well. Can you talk us through a bit about the whole process of mapping for TMGL, how it happens? And one question I have in particular is, do you actually do identities yourself nowadays, or you have to take them from someone else?
Do you want to start, Vixxa, or should I?
Yeah, you can start first.
So basically, for the first stage, we got assigned identities, and we also had because of the identity contests. But now on stage 2, we were allowed to choose if we wanted to showcase more of the identities from the contest, or if we wanted to make our own. So yeah.
And what did you decide? Like both of you, Ealipse and Vixxa, you decided to use your own identity, or you picked something from the contest?
Yeah, I definitely wanted to pick something first myself if I could. Of course, it needed to be good enough. Again, a very new thing to do, and mapping an identity. But it took 9 attempts, I think, before I actually got something I was proud of. All the other ones are quite questionable, but also some cool ones. But this is definitely the best one that we finally picked. And if I wasn't able to make anything cool or useful, then I always still had that pack of other tracks from the
contest, yeah.
Yeah, the contest. So I always had that backup, and because of it, I wasn't really feeling pressured of I have to do anything good. And then actually, I finally found something when I wasn't pressured. So that's great.
I think it's
for you.
Yeah. So basically the same, because me and Nightwolf are doing the map together in TM World Tour, and we were like trying out different stuff, and I mean, halfway into like trying to find the identity, we were looking at some of the identities from the identity contests, and Usu, your identity was way too dank, so we had to scale it down a bit. And we just
that one was for the fans, okay? I made one for the players and one for the fans. That one was for the fans.
Yeah, so basically reactorize, and Nightwolf came up with this like the spins and everything, like, yeah. it was a must go to identity for us. It was kind of fun to see that it actually worked out that well. So kind of happy with that.
Yeah, I didn't play tracks myself, but I've seen them on Discovered on a couple of streams. They look actually really, really nice. And identity is definitely unique. Again, unique. So like, I'm super amazed how you can actually pull so many different ideas for identity through. Like, we have identities for like 3 years already, starting with TM2, I think even, right? And now in 2020, so it's like 3 years almost. And pretty much every time is something new and something crazy. This is cool. I don't I can't say that I'm that like big of a fan of having identities on all tracks, like in the general concept, but yeah, this is another topic we're not going to dive it. but yeah, in general, I'm really amazed how many different cool identities we had so far.
Definitely, I think I speak for everybody that if we had a Ealipse/Vixxa rejected identities campaign, just a full campaign of just those, it'd be very interesting to see.
Oh no.
Yeah, maybe we have to start a conversation about that later tonight, Ealipse.
Yeah, well, 2023, you heard it here first. That's confirmed. We're getting a full campaign. No, but I mean, I know you said you didn't want to bring up everything, but is there anything else you wanted to say about going into 2023? Anything that you're excited about? Anything else going on with you and your mapping?
I'm very, very excited about how mapping in general, also my mapping, will be changed or shaped by the console release. How much those consoles will be able to handle. I doubt they can handle very big structures like Dreamscapes, for example, and that may influence slightly about how I will map in the future. But I definitely want to stick with what I'm doing now. Lots of transitions everywhere, never too much.
I will say though, because I'm on the PS4 testing, and basically Aibo had set up this like campaign of like the club with a lot of campaigns, and I went to one of my maps. I know my PC like can't run at full FPS. Like I'm dropping down to like 70 when I'm usually at like 120. And the PS4 run it smoothly, like really smooth. So they have done some good shit.
Good
Very
optimization.
Good.
Yeah, that's
Oh, yeah.
that's actually good to know, because yeah, I was super afraid about that fact that the release on console can be super buggy, especially on a lot of tracks, especially because they started enforcing FPS on track of the day. So like we had this information from Tona, clearly said that basically map can be rejected because it has FPS issues. But apparently, yeah, they did a really good job. And maybe we're not gonna have any problems with that.
I mean, I think this is a good segue that we can talk a little bit about just how we think the console release is going to affect the mapping scene in general. I mean, I think having different optimization options available is going to be a thing. But in terms of how it's affecting what types of maps people are making as well, I think we already have confirmation that console, we know it's not going to have plugins and all these custom items and stuff, but it's also not going to have free blocking or ghost mode even. It's only going to have block mode, so no block mixing. Do we think that we're going to see like more maps coming out, or more maps getting track of the day, or more maps just in the general meta that are kind of more that retro style without block mixing?
I think that's a good question. I know so many people that need free blocking, or they really get the best out of themselves with free blocking, and especially new players, because I think computer players or people that are used to PC will stick to PC, and new players will maybe build on console. But I think the mapping genre won't change that much because of it. I don't know. I haven't really seen. I also have a beta test code for Xbox, but I haven't really touched too much of the editor because it was so difficult to do on a controller. For me, at least, it took so long to get used to. So I think, especially mapping wise, people will not change that much. I think I think that will be fine.
But we're not gonna also have custom items, as far as I know, right, on consoles. So yeah, you basically even club items won't be accessible. That's actually I don't know about that.
That's a good question. I also am not 100% sure about club item accessibility, but from what I heard down the chain, sounds like it's going to be mostly vanilla situation. But I mean, this could change. They're still doing a lot of tests. I don't want to be spreading misinformation. So
Yeah.
sorry, Daddy Nadeo. I'll try to tone it down. But yeah, I guess.
I mean, one other thing we can also say about like what will probably change in like mapping, not like the scenery, but something I noticed when like testing and driving maps is that when you drive, it feels different. Even when I play on a controller on PC and controller on PS4, it feels not better or worse, but like different because of the inputs, the input delay. So probably some route meta change, probably to accommodate for the input lag or something.
You think we might see less like precise like navigation and like tech maps type of things, at least being as popular because of that type of thing?
Probably.
More easy grad speedrun maps.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I mean, I think just with any, regardless of any specific distinctions between inputs or performance or this type of thing, when we have a bigger new player base coming in for any reason, I think you see a bigger resurgence in easier maps. So I think that's entirely possible, that we could see more easy maps getting the center stage for at least for a certain period of time. Yeah. Anything else anybody wanted to say about that?
No.
All right. Well, from that point, we're gonna have more question and stuff at the end. So if anybody has any questions that's joining us right now, you can either say those for the end, or you can post those, and we can try to pick those out and bring them up at the end. But before that, we're gonna jump into a little news and maps and items, and just talk about some of the stuff that's come up recently. So let's take a look first at some mapping related news. So the Carlberg Duo competition. This is a little older news now, but it is finished now. So unfortunately, if you were still working on your map, you missed the deadline. The map pack is not released though yet. The results are not released yet, so we should be seeing those in not too long. I'm not going to speak for Carlberg or any of the other organizers. I don't know exactly when that'll be, but this was a really cool project. We saw a lot of really interesting ideas in terms of their approach to this theme, that being basically a classic style map. Some people taking it more literally, some people taking it more figuratively. I think just a lot of cool maps coming out of this.
Definitely.
Yeah, that was like I forced that Physh and Ealipse to build them up for both of them for a different map, because they didn't want to. Like first, I had to force that Physh to build a tech track. My idea actually, I wanted to participate in this, and I wanted because I really wanted to recreate some TM2 items for this game. Not even like the shape is not that different. I mean, the ground is super different. Like ground in TM2. And driving on grass on the ground is nothing like we have in 2020, especially because of elevation difference, but I'm not going to go into details. But yeah, I wanted to build a lot of stuff, or like several items from TM2 to... But I know that my route skills is not that good, and I won't be able to execute especially a good tech route. So first I had to force that Physh to build a track for that. And that was pretty fun project, I think, in the end. I don't know that Physh if you enjoyed it, but I did. I mean, that was fun.
I kind of enjoyed it. The thing is, so I never played TMNF, right?
Yeah.
So basically, I went into this, and I'm generally not that good at tech. So I was kind of going back and tried to sense, played a bit of TMNF and tried to sense what those text maps were about. And it just felt like so different from the TM 2020 physics. Like the car felt a lot more floaty, and it kind of didn't stick to the ground as much. So I guess I kind of tried to build around like trying to make floaty drifts. And I mean, it was fun, but generally, I think it was pretty hard to map for if you like weren't in that mindset of, okay, how did these maps actually play?
Yeah, especially because of the physics difference and stuff. But then actually rolling back to this discussion about difference between 2020 and TM2 Stadium full speed, the second map which we built with Ealipse, and that was actually pretty interesting experience because we tried as hard as we can to replicate full speed from TM2 and TMNF. And I think we succeeded on it, or like at least like somewhat we could. We tried as much as we could to succeed in it. But yeah, so I played like 10, 20 TMNF tracks to remind myself how it was in TMNF TM2 Stadium to build and drive full speed. And yeah, then try to replicate the same in 2020 was kind of a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of helped with like all the videos that you found, like of all the tracks, and that's the only thing I had to go off of. Like, I didn't even play back then. I mean, I started like over 2 years ago, I think. Yeah. So like the whole like the style and everything, I had no clue how it worked. So it was like really fun to like try to replicate that.
Yeah. So yeah, back to cardboard competition. I think for me the main challenge was not to build just a track, but actually to try to build something which feels like TM2, TMNF, and that's why I really like this competition in general. So yeah, can't wait for results. Want to see who's gonna win it because maps there are really good. I played I think all of them, or at least like 80% of them, and they're like super solid tracks.
Yeah.
And I was a judge for, or one of the judges for this competition. And as all you guys already said, you can make this whole theme of making a classic map. You can interpret that in so many different ways, and that you could also definitely see that by how people approached it. So many different styles, so many different. Some people took it indeed way more in a classic way that it doesn't really need to. Or it does need to be very similar to the classic tracks that were there, the most played tracks, while others focused more on what was the kind of main style competitively back then. And everyone had very different ways of looking at it, and it was really interesting to see how people tackle that. Really cool.
Yeah,
and you guys did well.
Yeah, Juice, Deadfish, Ealipse, all I think did really well, and honestly, like you mentioned, everybody did really good. It was clear a lot of passion went into a lot of these projects. Definitely suggest anybody interested in playing some interesting, more classic, sometimes even newer, but in the classic style maps. Definitely check out some of the submissions for the Cardboard doing mapping competition. Next up in news, this is a little more recent. Virtual announced a mapping competition. That's a bit of a throwback to some old like puzzle type stuff, which is essentially oh, that's too loud. A connect the dots mapping competition. So I think this is cool, just because, you know, good size prize pool and some interesting concepts, but also because it's not necessarily appealing to just the most technically proficient or experienced mappers. A lot of people can kind of come into this competition with their own problem-solving skills and try to figure something interesting out. So if anybody's interested in taking part of this, there's a $1,000 prize pool. Head on over to Virtual's Twitter, or I think his Discord has full links for all that information.
Yep.
I think it's a really nice concept of a competition because it's actually a puzzle from previous games, so like style of tracks which we had, which is a puzzle. It wasn't that popular, I think, back then, but still I really enjoyed it, and especially as a beginner when I first I think I started with like Trackmania Sunrise, if I remember correctly, but that actually type of maps, which is puzzle, was really fun for me because it requires you to not just build a track but also connect everything and also then set the time, which is I think you had to beat the times. There were some gold times which you had to beat, so you had to actually build some proper maps. You couldn't just put randomly some blocks and try to drive it. It didn't work. So yeah, this concept is really fun. So yeah, definitely if you're interested in doing something like that, join this mapping competition and try it yourself.
Yeah, definitely suggest it. Next up, we had, this is just a little, I guess, update type of news. So, as a lot of people know, Flink has put his channel on hiatus. He has recently become a dad, and he is going to be focusing on that, which is absolutely understandable. And Ski Freak took it upon himself to take up the mantle of putting out some of these best tracks in Trackmania on TMX, presumably monthly, similar to how Flink was doing it. So if you haven't already subscribed to Ski Freak and you want to see that type of content, he's going to be putting out more videos like that. And then lastly, we had the user choice, or the user voting. I forget the exact naming for it. But on
MX User Choice Awards.
MX User Choice Awards, yeah. So those are live now. The voting's now live past the nomination stage and into the final voting. So if you have somebody that you think got robbed in some category or doesn't have enough recognition, or you just want to cheer on your favorite person in any one of these categories, head over to trackmania.news. Should be right on the front page, and you can submit your votes for all sorts of different categories, mapping related and not mapping related. Yeah. From there, we're going to hop over to some new map releases. And they're all Deadfish maps? What the heck? What did you do? No, we're going to talk about a couple different maps that we saw. I think when we normally do this podcast, we'll be focusing mostly on the last couple weeks, but we expanded it out a little bit because this is the first episode, kind of a little bit more gray area. So just kind of talking about some stuff that has come up more recently. First of all, we want to talk about Steel Symphony, a map from Sqweegel. This map was a banger.
This map is amazing. I spent a lot of time. I think we were fighting with Ealipse and that. I mean, not maybe with not that Physh. I think that Physh stopped hunting back then, but we were fighting with Ealipse on this track for the time because it drives so nicely. It builds so well and super tricky, super interesting, transitional. I really enjoyed this dirt transitional mixed track.
Yeah, I think.
Yep. I mean, the hunting for this is, I had so much fun for the countless hours, man. It's kind of fun to see what when suddenly other people started hunting with us before it was track of the day, seeing the new lines and everything. Oof, such a good track.
Yeah, and really creative. It's you go.
Here you can also definitely see how much Sqweegel on his own already, and how fast he improves, both in scenery and in routing. I was really impressed by this one. Like the little details of having these white pipes or lines that show you have to jump approximately here and not further, otherwise you're gonna clip. Those are really small things that make a track complete, and that was awesome to see.
I mean, if it's his 7th released map on TMX, and that is just absolutely incredible that you're at that level of quality at 7 maps released.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely clear that a lot of his skills and his experience and what he's taken away and learned from his previous maps and those feedback has really culminated in this. This really feels like he's hitting his stride. So really great to see Sqweegel putting out stuff like this. And it's fair to say if he's putting out more maps like this, we are all going to be playing them. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. So huge shout out, Sqweegel, Steel Symphony. If you haven't played it, go play it. It's an amazing map. Next up, we had Totodile. This a lot of people will know recently because it recently got track of the day. We didn't have Agrabou or Jack in here to talk about it specifically, but I know this was something they were working on for a long time. This really interesting speed tech mix, kind of speed fun type route with a heavy Pokemon theme. Put a lot of work into just getting all the little bits right and some really fun custom sounds and music. It was also a great test to see that Nadeo really does not care about IP infringement because we've seen Studio Ghibli, we've seen some Disney stuff, all sorts of stuff in Track of the Day, and now we're seeing Nintendo.
Now the floodgates
Pokemon
are truly open.
Yeah, it's the Wild West out there. So if anybody is wanting to make a map and worried like, oh, my map has a lot of stuff that I might get sent to cease and desist about, nah, you'll be fine. Put that in map review, send it off, you'll be good. Anybody else want to say anything about this map?
The fun thing is, I tested this one. Agrabou sent it to me, and he was like, I'm not so sure about this route. And overall, the route was already great then. But I saw some nitpicks that could be improved upon, and I gave some recommendations. And then he actually did nothing with it. He actually did better than the things I recommended to him. Or maybe Jack did it as well. But they actually maybe used some of my critique, but were even more perfectionistic maybe themselves, and provide us with an even more flowy and huntable track than with my help would have been. So I think that they both did a great job, and it was a blast to play. I got quite far into Track of the Day, or a Cup of the Day today. So great map overall. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I also think this is one of the examples where just like the whole presentation side of things like really elevates it. Like you see on the TMX page right now, you have the old school Pokemon card in-game and the media tracker. You have the sick Pokemon intro and the speech bubbles and the music and everything. And it just like, I mean, the route is already super nice, right? But then you have this whole presentation around it, and that just like elevates it even higher. So I think that's really like great job that both of them did.
Yeah, that's how you get 32 awards on TMX. You can't just create a great route anymore and do some mediocre scenery. You actually have to spend a lot of time polishing your map on all aspects and release a video, do a great scenery, do a great media track, and all this stuff. And then people gonna notice it and like it.
Yeah. And I think that's ultimately that's always going to be a good thing in the long run. We can sit here as mappers and think to myself, oh, I have to put in more work. I hate that. But at the end of the day, that's what pushes the quality bar higher. And ultimately, when that quality bar gets pushed higher, people are going to be aspiring towards that more, and we're going to see more quality content. So, overall, like you said, great presentation, great map. Just really good stuff all around. So shout out Totodile by Jackmania and agrabou. Go play it. Next up, another map that got Track of the Day not too long ago, Fsn't by Whiskey and entrylag.
Fsn't.
Anybody want to say anything about this track?
The screenshot was amazing.
Oh yeah, let's go take a look at the screenshot really quick again for anybody who missed it. Yeah.
It's like mind-blowing.
I think Whiskey did the video, and that it's by Xefas and entrylag.
Oh, yeah. Did I say it was by Whiskey? I might have misspoke.
Yeah, but
sorry. Yeah, it's entrylag and Xefas map. Yes, I think I just saw Whiskey on the screen. My brain went blank. But yeah, super sick thumbnail. I think we've definitely seen the thumbnail meta, or like this people really pushing thumbnails.
Yeah, that's crazy. All this thumbnail meta, that thumbnail now looks like actual poster for some high popular magazines. Like, that's crazy, man. I can't keep up with it anymore. Like before my thumbnails was okay-ish, I was like happy with them. Now, no, I don't have skills to actually make anything like that. That's just crazy.
It feels like 1.5 years ago it was like enough, just take a pretty screenshot and then just put some text over it, and it's already like considered a fancy screenshot, but holy fuck.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say really, really high quality stuff. entrylag just mentioned in the chat that Prof Guy did some magic on the screenshot. So seems like a lot of talented folks were involved in making that happen. It's really cool to see. What can we say about the map itself, though? There is actually a map behind that screenshot, believe it or not.
I think the route is I love the name because it has some almost full speed elements, even though it definitely isn't, of course. But what really was striking to me on this track was definitely the combination of making it feel like it's almost somewhat custom, while it is pretty much vanilla overall. And I loved this kind of hybrid of being in the middle of the ocean and still have this very unique kind of atmosphere that you don't really see anywhere else yet. And then the track is so flowy, it's mesmerizing to play, and it created a whole, just as the previous tracks, it created this great, coherent, amazing thing with having such clean scenery and such a clean route that it's awesome. It's addictive to play.
I think scenery-wise, like Xefas really like strikes a point between like detailed and but also kind of making the map look huge and open. I think that is like always amazes me about Xefas scenery style, that it's clean, it's detailed, and at the same time he makes the map look huge with these like wide open spaces.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's really good point, and it's something that's really hard to balance, especially without a lot of scenery experience under your belt, because it's really easy to kind of get locked into the, okay, I'm starting off, I'm building minimal scenery just to make the map work, and then you get more into, okay, I need to build more scenery, I need to build more things, there needs to be more things happening on screen. So finding that tasteful balance between, okay, maybe there's not as many things in my face right now, but they're constructed in a way that creates a certain atmosphere that's really impactful. And like you said, I think he did a great job here with that. It's really, really on display, his amount of skill and his nuance that he put into this. So if you haven't played it, if you missed the track of the day, or otherwise just wanted to play it again, go play it. Fsn't by entrylag and Xefas. Another map came out more recently. The first non-TOTD map on this list is Isengard by Isirix.
Soon to be TOTD though, probably.
It must be.
Hopefully.
Yeah, it must be.
The most amazing fact about this map that it's fully vanilla.
Yeah.
This is just crazy what you can actually do with all these free blocking items and with all the tools we have. You don't even need this Blender scenery to build maps which doesn't look like original vanilla. This is just crazy. And yeah, I'm super fan of Lord of the Rings, so I play this map a lot.
Yeah, I think this is just another example again as well of very carefully placed scenery, or the amount of scenery where it's supposed to be. It's very intentional in that the actual space around the route is, I can't even say minimally cluttered. It's basically nothing. But everything about how the scenery and the atmosphere is captured is what's happening further away from it, and how that creates a full picture. And I think you really killed it with that. And then obviously this really prominent centerpiece tower, all vanilla, really cool design, really cool composition. Just overall, really, really cool stuff. And then the route, I can't say too much about the route. I did play it. I enjoyed playing it. But just in terms of, I'm not a very good speed check driver, but it seems like a really, really nice route too.
I had a lot of fun playing this. Obviously, I'm not the fastest speed tech driver, but like for me, it felt super good.
Yeah, I mean, Isirix is actually one of the mappers that gets me to play tech or speed tech. I usually don't like enjoy the styles, but one of his earlier like tech maps, the Arukai, I think it's called, with like TMGL spring scenery, like absolutely amazing, and it shows here too. Like I spent some time on this one too, like enjoying myself. Really good.
Yeah, really, really cool map from Isirix. Definitely go check it out if you haven't already. And like these gentlemen said, it will probably be track of the day soon. So if you want to get some of your smurfing going on, or you're cheating, go play.
That's the only way I can get the fun, to just basically hunt the track before TOTD. There is no way I'm getting the fun without just playing the track for 12 minutes.
Yep, I have had on one occasion I booted up a random FS map that I felt like playing and played it until Cup of the Day, and it was Cup of the Day. So it basically just felt like I was keeping my grinding session going. So that, yeah, if you wanna cheat a little bit, get in the higher div, go play this now. I also pulled up this NEO-CUPRA map. This was the Keissla one that came out recently, and yeah, this is it's a really well done map. This kind of came along. I don't know if this was the first map in the new district, or was this the second one? I don't remember exactly. But yeah, this new district is looking very cool, very well done. I think they adjusted some things with the lighting because some people were having issues with the roads being way too dark on the mod recently. But just really overall incredible work from both just Keissla and other people involved in making the route happen. But
yeah, florenzius is doing an amazing job with all the sceneries. Like, yeah, Rao's been controversial, and there is there is a lot of questions to all. Not this map actually. I enjoyed this route a lot. This route is super amazing. This is super fun. But yeah, previously a lot of routes was like, yeah, we had questions to them. But in general, what florenzius is doing with sceneries, yeah. I mean, it's on another level. The amount of work, amount of time spent to build it and to make the look of all maps is like just really amazing.
I mean, someone needs to give HMH a run for his money.
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's really cool to see. And anytime, like we mentioned before, anytime you see this type of content coming out that is so incredibly well done and has had so much time and effort put into it, it raises that quality bar for other people and gives people insight into the types of things that they could try to do, that there's things worth aspiring to, that they can, maybe the ideas they have for scenery or atmosphere are not impossible, and that you could try to make it happen, and you just need to put in the work. So
that's
really
one
cool
side of the medal, but another side of the medal is that when you see a track built like that with this like amount of details and this quality, you're like, can I probably can't build anything like that, so it even can stop you a bit from doing, because like you can't compete with something like that.
I think that's fair to say, feeling like, how do I even compete? Like, I think that's always going to be a double-edged sword in that way. But that's definitely not going to stop the people that can make that level of content do that. So all really great. Cool map. I think we still got a couple more. We have one more, a couple more NEO-CUPRA maps on the way in this district, I think. So keep your eyes out for those. If you haven't played this one, go take a look. Keissla, florenzius, a couple of folks. Really, really cool. Really, really cool map. Next map we had up was Dreamscapes. We already talked about a little bit about this one, and Vixxa walked through his process on that, so we won't talk about this one too much. I totally awarded it already. Don't look at that. But if you haven't checked it out already, it is out on TMX, and go take a look. Really, really solid map from our guy here, Vixxa.
Again, screenshot is just amazing.
Yeah,
really
it
cool
was
screenshot.
actually by Sqweegel, and I think he did an amazing job. And he asked me like 50 times, "Is this okay? Is this okay? Should this letter be two pixels to the right?" He did such a good job. I love the team. I said I would kind of want an overview where you see quite a good chunk of the track, and he picked this angle with the whole team of in the clouds and in this dreamy atmosphere, and I think he did.
Wait, this is not combined, right? I originally, when I saw the screenshot and played the map, I thought like it's combined view of two different parts of the track, but it's not, right? It's just one shot with really good angle. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a perfect angle, because I think that's always a difficult thing to balance when making a screenshot, is action versus landscape, or do I have it close up or do I have it far away where I just kind of see the overview, but there's not that real like Trackmania element to it. So he found the perfect part of the track that you can see the road, you can see the car, but you can also see all the stuff in the background. Really great screenshot. And also like the little details with the tower threaded through, like masked through the S.
Yeah.
It's a nice little detail. Really, really cool stuff here from Sqweegel on a really, really amazing map. So go check it out. Dreamscapes by Vixxa. It's on TMX. And then the last map we had up here was this endurance map by the Waypoint Academy boys. So
Is there actually a video for this?
I don't think there's a video. At least it's not linked. If there is, but yeah, these mappers for the Waypoint Academy did this collab. It's about a 2-minute long map, or a minute 42 if you're fast as mime.
Chat is saying there might be a video.
Yeah, guys in chat says that it was uploaded.
There's a
just
video.
recently.
Ski's got a video.
Yep.
I don't have the chat open on this one.
Because honestly, like the 1 minute 40
Let me pull it up really quick.
time kind of discouraged me from trying the map before the podcast.
Also very, very difficult track mechanically. It covers loads of cool transitions, but I can also imagine that for quite some people it can be difficult to not crash for those 2 whole minutes, because there's quite some very difficult sections in this track. But it's awesome. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I also love that the Academy members did such a thing together, show each of the skills. You can definitely recognize each of their own styles, even though it blends quite well. I think you can definitely still see the specific points of who made what. They also, I think, used banners for that. Yeah, as you can see here, it says lackadal. But in general, I think it's surprising that 5 players or builders can make a map in which everything still flows together.
Yeah,
Definitely hard. I remember seeing like for TMA campaign, like quick inside thing info. So for TMA campaign, we had endurance as well, right? For the Vol 2 and yeah. So basically, for each map, we had a special dedicated thread in Discord, and for the endurance map, the thread was like 800 messages, 900 messages, something like that. So it was super crazy compared to everything else, where it was like 50. Like 60 messages at the top at most. So yeah, building endurance is hard, and especially when like a lot of people involved. Yeah, when it's like 5 people endurance track or something like that.
Absolutely. Like there's so many moving pieces. It really is not just a matter of, all right, I finished, you go. Like it is. There's a lot going on with making these types of tracks happen. And like Vixxa said, like the fact that they made it so like seamless and so flowy and feel so natural, but also still kind of capturing each of their own individual styles. I think this is really, really great project and really cool to see this type of thing. I'm curious to see if this is kind of something that we might see more of in the future as kind of like a repeated thing with the different iterations of the Academy team. Could be cool to see, over time, type of how that changes.
I'd love to see more endurance trackers, track of the day, honestly. We had one built by, I think, Tone, Ealipse, Nightwolf, and... Is that it? 3 of you, right? It's only 3 of you.
It
And
was
that was...
3.
Yeah. So that was pretty long to cup of the day, definitely. But it was fun. Like, yeah. A lot of people complained. But still, it was fun. Like, once in a while, I don't know, maybe every 2nd, 3rd month or something like that. But just for fun, I think that definitely worth it.
I mean, imagine though if you had like a endurance of the month, like for a specific date. I mean, that would be kind of cool. Like just like we have the like first of the month.
I mean, honestly, I would take endurance over LOL of the month. But that's maybe just me. But like
if it would be like good low tracks every month, then I would be fine with it. But this random LOL of the month is kind of I don't know. That's not what LOL is, at least in my head. I imagine LOL is completely different. I think in previous games it was slightly different, not like completely random, like we see in first of the month, a couple of tracks. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
this map looks sick though.
Yeah, super cool map. Endurance tracks definitely not for everybody. And like you guys mentioned, this is a very technical track, so it is not something you're going to pick up and drive some clean runs in your first 10 minutes on it. This is a sit down and really learn this type of map, but I think it's really, really rewarding map. It's got lots of cool, innovative sections and has that classic Waypoint vibe to it. So if you looking for a map with incredibly strong technical execution, and you want to really beat your head against it for a couple hours, look no further. Take a look at this map. Graduation by Waypoint Academy. Give a quick shout out to the mappers who's involved. It was Mime, Lackadal, jahbibbo, ollernice, and aZixTM. But yeah, those were our maps that we had that we wanted to give a little highlight to. We're going to hop into looking at some items and some item packs that have come out recently. Let's take a look here. So, first of all, oh wow, TMA. A little bit of self-promo here. But yeah, the TMA campaign item set. So this is the items that were used in conjunction with the release of the TMA campaign, the second one that was released pretty recently. You want to say anything about this, Juice?
Yeah, so basically we built this item set together with Ealipse, and as well, I think this item set includes macro blocks. I hope it does. If it's not, then I probably should update it, but macro blocks were built by Schlumpy. Also, shout out to him for that. They're really good. But yeah, these items, basically, we tried to make something which is like Vanilla Plus, inspired by, say, TMGL from previous seasons where we had also, where I think Team built a lot of small items which you can put on top of the road, like road barriers, or you can just use them for scenery, but they don't look that different from vanilla. They just extended slightly, so that was pretty much our goal for the set as well. And we spent quite some time making this set, and I think we ended up with pretty nice set which you can use on a lot of maps to just elevate the scenery look a bit.
Yeah, really cool set. I think it was used really well, and there's lots of applications for it, and kind of that vanilla plus style. So if anybody's interested in just getting a couple new type of blocks with that look and feel into your arsenal for your vanilla plus style maps, go ahead and download it. If you like it, give it a like, which I've done. And yeah, let's take a look at the next set. This is another Juice one. This is a smaller set. But some optimizations for some of these T-shape and crossed tilted items, because these were existing but had some issues, some little gaps in them and some other problems on them, and light map.
Yeah, light map was not that great because I think they were made in Mesh Modeler. So yeah, basically I got requested several times to fix them, but then I ended up actually remaking them because I was in the process of one of the future sets which we're gonna cover is Rosegrass. So for Rosegrass, I had a script which generates basically this type of blocks and items. So I actually just used it to generate it for existing surfaces and quickly upload it. Yeah, this is just something to basically help people to get better items.
Yeah, it's really nice optimization. So a lot of mappers will already have these types of items or be aware of them, but if you're looking for a more optimized fixed version of those, grab this set and throw those in and get going with that. We also have another set here. This is a scenery set from Vitro, who recently had his first track of the day. Shout out Vitro. But yeah, this is a really interesting set. Some different type of jagged, like procedurally generated type of rocks. And yeah, just more opportunities. These are Blender items, correct?
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's quite interesting to see like how he made them though, because like he showed me like how he like basically generated these. So in Blender we have this is it like a script system? I don't know. Called the geometry nodes. So basically what he did, he was like, okay, I'm gonna put this cube on top of this cube, and then he pressed a button and suddenly there was a big detailed rock. I was amazed. Oof. I mean, this has like endless possibilities if you are like already doing like landscape in Blender and such. Yeah, it's really cool to see.
Yeah, I think kind of creating these procedurally generated models for these types of things definitely has applications for this type of terrain, but we could also see it for other types of objects or designs with different themes as well. Really cool stuff from Vitro. If you guys want to check it out, it's called Vitro 113 Rocks Volume 1. So there is the implication that he is going to be making volume 2, 3, however many. So keep a lookout for those. We've also got these open road extensions. These are actually blocks, so these are substitutes that should find themselves nicely in your blocks folder. Just some extensions from Aibo for the open road that are some maybe notably missing items. I know a lot of people, myself included, have kind of been in these situations with these thinner road items, and you kind of have to combine multiple in kind of awkward ways, or have these kind of these gaps in your open road sections that feel like they could be accomplished easier. So these items solve a lot of those problems. So if you're just looking to have a couple more blocks in your arsenal that you can navigate these more specific problems, the really solid set, great stuff. I'm glad to see.
I wonder if banked version there as well, or it's only the flat one.
There's 64. Or no, wait.
Yeah,
no,
it must be more than it must
so,
be banked as well.
I don't. It might just be these actually. I don't know. We'll have to double check that.
Yeah, we'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it might just be these 16. So.
Maybe.
But either way, super useful stuff. Appreciate Aibo for putting these together and putting them out. Another set from Juice. The promise that we're not just doing this. This isn't just the Juice section of the podcast, but a lot of notable stuff that he's been putting out recently. So we got to talk about it. The platform extension for the Way Too Many.
Magnet platform extension. Yeah, I got asked several times since the release of first version of Way Too Many to add a magnet material, but adding magnet material is super tricky because we don't have a default material which is magnet, so I had to actually modify my scripting and stuff which I use for Way Too Many quite a lot actually to make it possible to make magnets. But yeah, a lot of people from full speed community and in general asked about magnet, and I actually found that there's a whole style of underwater driving basically, and for underwater driving on magnets, you can actually drive underwater with magnets, so that's why some people were looking for this type of extension for them to basically build underwater, right? Also,
I would never build underwater. Would never do that. No, but yeah. So lots of great applications. Also, like you mentioned, not just for underwater driving, but also for full speed, or all sorts of different knuckles and jumps and just wacky whatever you want to do with a magnet. The set's great for any and all of that. If you don't want to be in the air, get this set. And then last but certainly not least, we got to talk about road grass. This is brand new, big drop from Juice 3 days ago, hot off the press. This is essentially a brand new surface style, road surface style, created entirely by Juice. Tell us more about it. Juice.
Yeah, so road grass was my idea for like a year already or something. I always was thinking that we don't have a road for grass, right? We have it for everything. I mean, we don't have it for plastic, but plastic got released like a year ago, more. But still, for grass, we always wanted to have a road type of it. But the hardest part was to build something unique, because like we could do something the same as Road Tech Ice, where we just replace Road Tech with ice surface and that's it. But that wasn't that interesting because that wouldn't give you any. I mean, it could be interesting, but still it wouldn't be that interesting. It wouldn't give you a lot of new type of transitions, a lot of new type of like elevation changes and stuff like that. So for road grass, actually, we were testing this shape a lot. And this is not just road tech or road dirt. It's something in between, originally inspired by trench dirt blocks from TM2. But then we changed it quite a lot while testing and ended up with completely new shape. It's like slightly lower than road tech and slightly higher than road grass. Yet allows you to do outside turns with keeping the gear and stuff. With bunch of transitions, I added a lot of new type of blocks, for example, start and finish in diagonal shape, and as well really interesting block which is mid barrier one, suggested by Valve. Actually really good idea. So basically this block but with middle barrier, so you have to avoid it.
Actually, I could hop in the editor and show that because
if you can. I think this block in general I will try to make it for all other surfaces because I think there's a lot of potential for this block to be used, especially because like it basically forces you to take the line like this whole block, but whole is not really visible. You don't really see it from distance. You have to react it. I mean, yeah, of course, when you memorize it, you easily remember and know how to drive it. But when you first discover the map, it's really hard to see. But on this one, you can actually see it from far away that there is something which blocks your way in the middle, and you have to take it on outside. So yeah, huge shout out to Val for the idea for this block. I really like it. And yeah, in general, these blocks as well. We didn't have something like that before, so I created them because I think it could be really interesting. There is one block which should be illegal. I still included it into this collection, which is slope up start.
Oh.
Yeah. So never use it.
He made this, but that doesn't mean it's okay. You shouldn't do it.
Yo, this is for the backward starts, by the way. You jump into something.
Yeah. That could work. Really, really cool set. It is out now for you to play with. Like he mentioned, it is a completely different shape. It might look like from far away that it's just retextured road tech, but it's got these little edges. But it's flat in the middle. So lots of interesting, cool combinations and ideas that we've already been seeing on either maps that have come out or maps that are currently in progress. I think we'll be seeing a lot more of this set later on. It's just a really, really cool set overall. So definitely go download that.
There's a question if we're gonna get something like that for other styles. Probably yes, because the whole set is... I mean, okay, so basically my goal to create the set was not only to create a road grass, but also to create a script which would allow me to generate the same set for pretty much any other blocks which are 32 by 32 meters. I mean, I can extend it, but it doesn't matter. Basically, I have a script. And for the generation of the whole set, I need to create approximately 10 objects in Blender and then hit one button and generate the whole script for me. So yeah, hopefully I will have time to add the same new type of blocks for existing surfaces, and maybe I have some ideas for future like road plastic, and I also wanted to make something cool for road glass, which I don't know what will be, but in my head I have a couple of ideas how you can make road glass look really nice, so maybe that somewhere later this year.
Yeah. I think we're all definitely excited to see what might be the next new set coming out with some new style, some new surface. So really cool stuff to see from Juice. And yeah, shout out to everybody involved that made that happen. And yeah, if you haven't downloaded already, go get that set, play around with it. Super, super fun. So that's it for our items and sets for this episode. We're going to now transfer into something that we're kind of preemptively calling the Rising Star. So wanted to use this as an opportunity to highlight some mapper or set of mappers who are doing really cool and interesting stuff or are finding their way and putting out some interesting maps that most people maybe haven't heard of. So this episode, we're wanted to highlight Physh, a mapper who has been putting out some really interesting maps with a lot of different styles. Does anybody want to say anything right out the gate?
Yeah, I think Physh, I saw him a lot on Map Review, and it's not only the tracks that he publishes, but also the speed, the pace at which he develops these tracks, and there are all in all sorts of styles. He has made some amazing transitional tracks that are pure tech. There are mixed tracks. There are incredible, well-calculated plastic maps, I believe. Ice even. I'm not that much a fan of that one, but that's just because of its ice. But in general, the rate at how he is improving is spectacular.
Yeah, I think that's really clear that he is putting out a lot of content. He's clearly really trying out a lot of things, and like you mentioned, the variety of styles, how he is experimenting with all these styles, I think is really promising. I think a lot of people kind of find one thing and they really hone in on that and they try to develop that, which in and of itself is not an issue at all. And I think it's totally cool to do that. But when somebody is really mixing it up and going out of their comfort zone, trying different things with not just root styles in different environments, but also scenery styles. We've seen lots of different scenery styles that Physh has been making. So it's really cool to see him playing around with different ideas, and I think that's really promising in terms of what he is going to continue to do in the future. So
and especially if you think about how much attention these tracks get, sometimes 4, 6, 8 awards. I think this is definitely someone that's flying under the radar so far, which is not deserved. And people should definitely check his tracks out more often.
Definitely.
Yeah, I definitely agree with
definitely.
that.
I think this, very, very much flying under the radar in terms of the effort putting into the quality of these tracks. And I think we're definitely going to be seeing more from Physh moving forward in terms of lots of different styles of tracks. I anticipate. So if you are interested in checking out some of Physh maps, his TMX is PHYSH. He's got a good handful of maps out there right now, and if you like his maps and want to see what else he's making in the future, go ahead and give him a favorite. The other person that we also wanted to give a brief shout out to is Isirix, because he's been killing it recently. He has been getting a bit more hype. He's getting a lot more like awards and a lot more people talking about it, but he's definitely somebody that had been flying under the radar for a little bit. So he is really killing it right now. I definitely suggest giving him a follow, keeping an eye out for his future projects. We talked about Isengard a little earlier in the podcast, but he's also had a couple really cool maps. He had this map Atlas, just came out a couple weeks ago, and this collab with Forever called Esper that you may have seen in Track of the Day a couple months ago. So if you hadn't, go check those out. Really, really deserves the new attention he's getting. Really, really cool mapper. Lots of great stuff coming out from him. Lynn says, in chat, Physh guy looks really uncomfortable in his chair. Yeah, I think I agree.
A little bit.
For the left, yeah.
Yeah,
his
chair looks really uncomfortable. Okay, I thought he said
I didn't even notice he left, and suddenly I only see his chair. I mean,
chair check.
chair check.
But yeah, we already talked about like one of the conversations we were going to talk about in terms of the console and stuff. So I think with that we can jump into the Q&A. So if anybody has any questions, I did catch one question in chat, but I wasn't paying a lot of attention. So apologies if anybody else. I think maybe some other people might have caught some other questions as well. But if you have a question for Vixxa specifically, or just the group of us as a whole that you want to ask or for us to discuss, feel free to drop it in the chat now. The question that I did see from Spoder, he asked, are console players going to be able to plug keyboard and mouse and edit with that, or only lock to controller? I think it is definitely going to be an only controller situation, unfortunately. I think the console editor is an entirely different set of not just inputs, but just how it actually works is completely different. So I think you're going to be stuck to the controller when you're editing on console, unfortunately. I got a question from Kraz. Vixxa, will you be there in September on the LAN in Cologne?
I really want to, but I'm not 100% sure yet. It's always quite an amazing trip, but it also I'm a student. I don't have that much money to just go everywhere and at any time, but I would really love to, because definitely, and for everyone that hasn't done this before, coming together, seeing each other in person, whether that's for racing or for mapping or for just getting wasted, whatever you want to go for, but it's an amazing experience, and I think definitely in my whole Trackmania timeline, the most fun events were the Dutch LAN that I attended, Gamax, and the Arcadia weekend in previous time in Hamburg. Those were definitely the most memorable Trackmania related moments I had, and I would encourage anyone that is still, including myself, thinking like I'm not too sure yet. If you can, definitely do it, because you will love it and you will remember it for a very long time.
Going outside is fun, gamers. It's fun.
Mm.
Try it sometime. It's a good time. But yeah, totally agree. And
Yeah, we need our small event in US, because flying to Europe is expensive.
yeah,
a bit.
yeah. If any event sponsors are in chat right now and want to give us a US event or North America event, anything that doesn't make us have to fly around the entire world, we would love to have.
Yeah,
it.
so basically have it in Europe.
Yeah.
We have another question from Isirix about TMA campaign third, or like volume 3. That's something for next year probably. Or maybe it will start this year, but definitely later. So nothing at the moment. We may have few small campaigns released under TMA though. Like fun campaigns. Yes, that Physh Quack
me and
too.
I'm planning on doing another meme campaign sometime in the near future, probably summertime. So
That sounds sick. So we're looking forward to that.
So if you want to make a silly map with some stupid ducks or some stupid gimmick, then send a DM, and we see.
Nice.
Probably doing something.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
That sounds great.
I want to build another duck map. Really love it.
We need more duck maps. We got a question from Mello JA, our
Hello,
good friend Mello. How to get recognition as a mapperdings without TOTD? Wow.
Oh. I mean, there's like a lot of stuff you can put your maps into. I mean, for example, for the NA side, you have like the TMNA potluck. I mean, there's like a lot of people joining at, I think it's like Saturday, like
Friday
evenings.
Friday evening.
Oh yeah, Friday evenings. And people just like hang out, play maps for like, I think it's like 6 minutes to play it, and usually it comes with a lot of awards, and people recognize you. They also have like the voice chat you can join, like sit there and talk with them. Really nice.
Yeah, and as well, like check other Discords. For example, I posted our map with Ealipse for cardboard competition to Evo Beginners full speed, and yeah, it basically got played a lot, like 600 records, 700 records within a week or two. So yeah, it's pretty good place to get some promotion and get some recognition if you'd like so.
In general, is Discord maybe one of the places that you definitely can, even if it's there are plenty of Discords that are about mapping, and even there tracks get spammed, and still people look most likely to every individual track, and you see every time the thumbs up or any kind of emote, so people are still regularly checking also those. So and it takes no effort. You can just put your link there, and you'd be surprised how many people look via those links.
Yeah.
I think
as well, good point from Kras that you have to be like actively checking and playing other maps, and because otherwise, people gonna see you if you do play other maps, if you do award them, if you do some feedback and map review and stuff like that.
I think also. Go ahead, Devish.
I also think Shifrik has a point here with like have a nice screenshot, maybe make a video, because like a lot of the maps that get posted in Discord just have the standard in-game thumbnail, and you're way more likely to click on a really high quality, nice looking screenshot than to click on some in-game thumbnail screenshot and download that map.
Mm-hmm.
Because you just see, okay, he's put effort in the screenshot. He probably put some effort in the map.
Yep.
So maybe try to polish your map outside of the game, of the route, of the scenery. Also try to polish the whole presentation kind of thing.
Yeah, and whether or not you like it, people do judge books by their covers. So people are gonna go by whatever first impression. When there's 1,000 maps to pick from, there's gonna be that one thing that draws you to their map. If it's the name, or it's the person who made the map, or if it's the thumbnail, or whether or not there's a video they can watch first, so they don't have to go download it and like find out for themselves. Like these types of things can factor in. So if you're thinking about all those things, if you're putting in that effort, those are great avenues to get more recognition.
There's another good question from Green K. Vixxa, what's your opinion on whole map review process, and do you think they should change or adjust something in it, or you're fine with how it is?
I could talk about it for hours, I think, because it goes so deep into all the specific things. Is it how should we have multiple people checking which tracks are suitable for track of the day? What are the different guidelines? Those haven't been always very specific. They become more specific now slowly, but still there's quite still some clearance, I would say, about what should be there, what shouldn't be in there. And then the whole voting system, people can vote whatever they like. They can troll, they can and tracks can definitely get a bad rating on average because of just a few trolls. So in general, there are so much layers of map review that are maybe not perfectly as they should be, but I would also not know how to fix them because they're quite difficult to fix. I always would love the rule that you can only vote, for example, when you have finished the track once. That's for example something I could see happening, or could be an idea because it was in previous Trackmania games. But if that would also again cause issues, and it's very difficult to solve, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
I think I agree. I was just going
to answer the question by Skifreak, Vixxa, when the next full speed track, I think you can like rewind to the beginning of the podcast because we were talking a lot about Vixxa changing his style. But maybe Vixxa, you can answer when the next full speed track.
There will come one eventually.
Eventually.
When anything else is done. No. I think I do still enjoy full speed building. It's not that I don't enjoy it anymore, but it will need some extra more attention to make something I'd be really happy with full speed wise, because of these different trajectory that full speed is heading to, or already is, compared to previous Trackmania games, or at least compared to Nations Forever. I still want to make something cool, transitional, and you don't really see that, especially not really in Track of the Day full speed too often. So it would take a considerable amount of time, and I definitely want to try myself to make one eventually, but it isn't that high on the list currently, I think. But it will happen.
Nice. And there was a question, not like question, but like basically Isirix is asking you if you could leak some future projects. Maybe just one for us.
Should we do that, Ealipse? I have one in mind. Could we do that?
Yeah, go on.
We can talk a little bit about what it is. It's if I say anything wrong, please correct me. But we enjoyed our time spending on Gilneas, and we kind of wanted to make a second part of it. It's not entirely the same. It's a different kind of medieval houses and stuff, but it kind of has the same theme of some mixed route that will also be quite transitional, but not too much, with different lines and similar to Gilneas. And I think Ealipse did a wonderful kind of scenery on it. It is based on, I don't know the exact name for it anymore, but of the two rocks that, of course rocks, that provide the small pause for ships that would go into this medieval medieval village, and you would go right in between the rocks, floating on your ship to the medieval village. It was kind of inspired by that, and we have finished it, I think, already 2 months ago, and I hope we.
I think I sat on Christmas Eve, just like after like dinner and everything, and just like working on it. Placed the last one, checked out the media tracker was done, and yeah, it's just sitting in the folders, I guess.
Yeah, it's still there, and it will be released eventually, but yeah, it will take some time. It's funny because we started on it already pretty much right after Gilneas, I think, and that was released.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think we already had the route done before Gilneas was track of the day.
So
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, and yeah,
that's like 10 months. So
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, we went with like different type of scenery. I mean, I came halfway with another scenery idea we had, and then like everything just like died down. Didn't happen. Like no more scenery was done like for a couple of months, and then I finally messaged Vixxa again, and I was like, "Yo, we need to finish this project, and I think I have another idea." And Vixxa was like, yeah, do whatever.
Yeah.
Just he thought I had forgotten about the map, but went 180 on that one.
But it will be a really cool map once released, and I think people will definitely enjoy that one. Especially
Yeah,
if they
it's true.
enjoy Gilneas. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the main one
More-
that I look forward to release.
I
Yeah,
think
it's a more stylized fantasy scenery with. I mean, we can maybe leak the style too. It's basically tech and dirt, like proper tech drifts and dirt. So that's good.
Definitely.
that sounds cool. That
Can't
sounds
wait.
amazing. We really can't wait for that. And just in general, can't wait to see anything and everything that you put out this year, Vixxa. I think 2022, we keep talking about it, was a hell of a year for you, but I think it's clear that you're not done yet, and that we still have a lot to see. And just really excited to see what else you put together. Is there anything you want to shout out? Use this as an opportunity to shout out.
Actually, I would love to, because I did become the mapper of the year. But if you see behind the scenes how much people help me with screenshots, with beta testing, with sometimes media tracker because I was too lazy to do it. There were so many people. If I would list everyone, that would be a huge list. Only already on the advanced campaign, more than 30 people were involved behind the scenes, and that would have never happened, especially not on such a scale, without all the others. So thank you very much for that. Also everyone in chat, and also the feedback that I got from, I think, every one of you four. I'm not even sure, but definitely a lot of you also saw some of the tracks and helped with that. So thank you very much.
That's so glad to hear that. I think that's huge. Plays a huge role. All the different pieces coming together, and just really appreciate everything you're doing, and we can't wait to see more of it. If you guys aren't already following Vixxa and what he's doing, you can subscribe to his YouTube, Sqweegel on YouTube. I think it's the same on TMX as your username. Go check out his socials. Go check out his maps. Thank you again so much, Vixxa, for joining us today. It was so great to talk to you, and I'm sure we're going to be talking more with you in the future about all sorts of things. If you haven't followed already, go ahead and follow the Twitch channel. Everybody in chat, we're going to be doing this every 2 weeks. A lot of familiar faces, new special guest every single week as well. We're going to be talking about lots of things. Make sure to join the TMA Discord as well for all future updates related to not just this podcast, but any of the other TMA events that are going on. But yeah, thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you, Vixxa. And we hope you all have a great rest of your afternoon or evening, wherever you're at. But take it easy, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.